Okay, so we're gonna be talking a little bit more code today, but before we do, right, we rolled our dice 12 times last time and we compared the outcome of rolling die A 12 times to that when we did the simulation, right? So now this is a question about like, okay, if you rolled a die 100 times, how can you record that data? How would you record that data? If you rolled a die 100 times, right? What are some ways that you can try to record that data so that it's easy for you to see how many times you got each number, right? How do you think that our studio would count those simulations? So think about a code in our studio that would count the number of times like we rolled a certain number, right? So think about, so first question is how would you record that data? Second question is like how do you think our studio would count that simulation? And I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to think about this and answer it in your IDS journal. Okay, give me a second. How do I not have this ready and open? I should. Janelle coming through with those good answers. Let's see. You know your username though? Yeah. The LBUSD dash and the numbers? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Okay, it's your first name. And then 1, 2, 3, 2. Everything's lowercase. Sorry, I should have said that first. Uh-huh. All right, so we got 10 more seconds left. If you're done answering, send me your answers in the chat. Send me your answers in the chat and let's take a look. And you guys over here. Okay, so Janelle gave a pretty good idea. Oh, there we go. Alexander coming through. Nice. Got some visual learners up in here. So Janelle came through with that dot plot. Alexander saying he'd make a histogram. Okay. So our studio will probably count, yes. What about the rest of you guys? Let's see, yeah, you guys are typing, making a dot plot, all right. I'll give you guys a second to type. While they're typing, what do you guys think? What did you guys put down?
I'll probably use the format, like put every number that's on the drive, like each time I go to the drive, whatever number I put a tally mark.
Okay, so tallies in a chart. Okay, good. Okay.
I mean, same thing, like, just tallies,
okay. Anyone go with visual? Anyone say dot plot or histogram from you guys? Dario's way past this. Dario's not even paying attention at this point. Dario's Jay from my other class.
I just completely biased it.
I'm sure you did. Well, good for you, because yesterday my poor kids, oh my God. Our studio was having so many issues yesterday. I think I drove the tech guy crazy because I kept going to him. I'm like, now this doesn't work. Now this doesn't work. And he's like, yeah, my poor kids, my poor kids. All right, let's see here. Um, let's see. Evelyn, histograms. Evelyn said histogram too. Alexis too. Wow, all these people at home are very visual. Bar graph, okay. Counts the simulation results by tallying it down. Yes, yes, yes. Natalie, random. Okay, good, good. Okay, Maddie, bar chart, nice. All right, box plot. Oh, you could actually, I don't think there's enough variation for a box plot, Janelle, but it's an idea. Yeah. All right, good job, guys. So histogram, tally charts, right? That's a good way. By the way, those of you that are here, music, is it bothering anyone?
No.
I can turn it off. Okay. I just think it sounds better. Some background noise. All right, so what we're gonna do is this. So in our studio, you guys remember the tally function?
Yeah.
It counts the data for us, right? And how many times, but it's usually for categorical data, right? What we have to consider is rolling a die and tallying the faces is categorical data. Because we're not counting the value of one as one, right? We're saying that's the face, that's the one face. This is the two face, this is the three face, this is the four face, right? So each one of those numbers is it's a categorical, it's a face that we're actually notating. So we can tally our rolls and our studio can count it for us. But here's the thing. In order for us to tally, let's say 100 rolls or 200 rolls or 300 rolls, we have to give that roll number set a name, right? So usually when we're tallying a variable from a data set. In this case, we don't have a data set and we don't have a variable. We're creating the data set by rolling the dice, right? So when I roll the dice a certain number of times, I get a list of numbers that it landed on. So in order for me, hold on, William's in the waiting room, sorry. In order for us to tally how many times each face showed up, I need to give that number set that I just created with the rolls, I need to give it a name. And once I give it a name, right, I can call it Chris if I wanted to. I could call it Dario, I could call it whatever. Once I give that data set a name in our studio, I have defined it. And now I can tally it and I can make a histogram from it. I can make visuals if I wanted to, but I would have to give that data set a name so our studio knows these are the numbers I'm pulling from, okay? So when I take a look at this code right here on the screen, okay, when I take a look at this code, these 3 lines of code are essentially you rolling your die, giving that number set a name, and then being able to tally it, and then we'll make a histogram from it, okay? So this part of this line, the roll underscore die A, right, times 100. That's me rolling my die A 100 times. And if I just put in that part of the code, I would get the list of numbers myself, right? However, once I put that initial part where I say sample 1, that is now the name. I'm giving that name to those 100 rolls. And so our studio will put it in our environment pane as if it was a data set to pull from. And it saves it under the name sample 1 or whatever name we choose to give it. Does that make sense? And then I can say, okay, tally sample 1. So then it'll take all the numbers in sample 1 and it'll count them for us. And then I say, okay, make a histogram of it. And so it'll take all those numbers and it'll make a histogram for us. But it won't do that unless I name and make it a data set. Does that make sense? So let's go into our studio right now and we're gonna try this out. We're gonna put in these 3 lines of code. And those of you guys at home, I'm gonna put this in the chat, but I think there's an issue if you try to copy and paste it. So you guys may need to type it out, okay? Oh shoot, what did I just do? Hold on, I got it, thank you. Instead of copying, I cut. I knew that. So you guys here, I would suggest writing this down because I'm going to go to my RStudio page right now. Okay. So write down these 3 codes. Because these are the 3 codes you're going to need when we're doing our 2.9b, along with the histogram code. And all that's going to change is the name that you're giving the role, the name that you're giving whatever the number set, right? And then what die you're changing essentially, or what die you're going to roll. Those are the main changes. We'll see how much we get through today. Tomorrow you guys will have a substitute, and I don't know what I'm going to give you guys to do.
Oh, wait.
Oh, that's what.
If some of us come tomorrow, we have fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll just be in here with us up.
Okay.
It's okay. She seems nice. I haven't had her, but I confirmed with her, and she seems nice. She's not going to be teaching. She's going to be babysitting. You know, I never let the subs teach. Oh, I forgot I was recording you guys. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our, whatever. Yeah, go for it. And for this part, I'm going to have to turn off the lights because I think RStudio, it's hard to see. Just let me know when you guys are done with the pictures. Got it? All right, so when we go to RStudio here we go. Hey, let me clear my console. You guys are not, see, you see all the error codes I was getting yesterday for a code that was working the day before. Or actually, I would say for a code that was working an hour before. I kept getting all these error codes. So frustrating. Okay, so let's say I want to roll my die 100 times, right? But I'm going to give it a name. So the first, we have sample 1 in our notes, so I'm just going to go with sample 1. Okay, and then you do the arrow, the less than and the dash, that's like an arrow 2, right? And then you put in your code. So roll underscore die, choose what die you're rolling. So we're going to roll die A this time, comma, times equals 100. Okay, so if I were to just put in roll underscore die, just this part, I would get a list, right? I would just get a list of my numbers. This time though, because I'm naming it, what's gonna happen is I'm just gonna get this thing, your rolls, and you're like, okay, well, where's the numbers? Okay, for the numbers are now in your environment pane. The numbers are now in your environment pane. So notice here it says sample 1, right? 1 to 100, and I have all of my rolls. I can't see them all because it's 100 numbers, right? But I see that it's sample 1 right here, and I can pull on sample 1 now. I can use it, okay? So I named the 100 rolls there. So let me go back to my console. So now I can tally. I'm like, okay, I can't see my numbers, but how many times did each number show up? So I'm going to tally, and I'm going to use the name of the data set that I just created. So it's sample 1. Enter. Bam. We now have a tally. Okay, so I've counted exactly how many times each number rolled in those 100 rolls. So 1 rolled 20 times, 2 came up 19 times, 3 came up 17 times, and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, do you guys remember from the last class we were talking, right? And we said the proportion of rolling, the ideal probability of rolling each face of the die was what? 1 out of 6. Yes, we remember that? Right? 6 sides to a die, we can roll one side, right? The probability of rolling any side is 1 out of 6, which actually comes out to 0.166667 as a decimal, right? So what if I want to see if these are close to that? I want to see, okay, I'm seeing numbers, I'm seeing the count, but proportionally, how does it compare to the 1/6 probability? So for that, I can do the tally I can do the tally function again, but I can add one modification into the format that I wanted to show me. So you do the tally sample one, and then you do format, and this was the third line of code. Format equals proportion. So what this is going to do is it's going to take each one of those numbers and divide it by the total number of rows. So 20 divided by 100, 19 divided by 100, 15 divided by hundreds, and so on. And it's going to give me the decimal so I can compare. Okay. Now, out of 100, it's pretty easy to tell, right? 20 out of 100 is 0.2. 17 out of 100 is 0.17. But when we've rolled 200, 300, 400, 500 times, it's not as easy to tell, right? So doing the proportion format allows you to very easily see how close are these rolls to the actual proportion of 0.1667. And we can see here, 1 is a little high, 0.2, 2 is 0.19, 3 is pretty close, it's 0.17, right? 5 was pretty low, 6 is pretty close, that's 0.15. So there's a nice little spread there. Okay. You guys at home, so far so good? Any questions at home? Any questions here?
We're good. I'm good.
Okay, I hope these codes are making sense to you guys because you're going to need these codes for the 2.9b activity. Okay. Okay, so Ishmael raises a good point. He's like, my numbers are different. Yes, they should be. When you run these codes, you're going to get a different set of roll, right? The numbers I rolled when I ran my code are going to be different than the numbers you rolled when you ran your code. They're different simulations. It'll be different if I do a sample too and I roll the same die, same number of times, I'm going to get a different set of numbers. Because every time, it's like literally every time taking a dice and rolling it 100 times, you're not going to get the exact same thing. So yours is going to be different than mine. The codes and the outputs though, the formats and stuff should be the same though. Okay. The numbers are definitely going to be different. That's for sure. All right. So back to our PowerPoint here. Okay. So here's a bit of notes for you. Understanding the concept of fair. Remember that if the die is fair, then each side of the die should appear roughly about the same amount of times. Okay? Therefore, the proportions should be fairly similar to each other and to the true probability of 1/6, right? This idea I was talking about of like the 0.167 ratio or a proportion. Alexander, get this slide down and then we can go back. You also have access to this PowerPoint, Alexander. Let me send you the link, hon. Oh, there it is. That's so much. Please don't tell me Canvas is going to crash again. The Unit 2, Section 2 website. Yep. Absolutely, totally. Alexander, hon, I put the link to the PowerPoint in the chat so you can open it and find, that was slide 21 or 20, I think, on your PowerPoint. So you can find it and go to that slide and get down whatever you need to get down. You're done with your 2.9b?
Yeah, I'm done. Do you want me to leave something here so I come back?
Nope. Why you want to leave me?
I don't want to make any noise. I have to watch the video.
Yeah, no worries. See you later, hon. Good luck. Find the PowerPoint? Go to slide 20. Yeah, we're pretty far down because this is the second day now. All right. Okay, so the next idea is to sketch a histogram based on the numbers that you got in your RStudio. Okay, so I hope everyone was running the code, right? Give me a second, let me hook up my tablet here. Okay, I hope everyone was running the code. Did you hook up? Yep, you did. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a quick sketch of what we think our histogram will look like once we rolled our die of 100, right? So remember that making a sketch is it's not exact, right? So, but the one thing I do need, however, is I do need my, let's see. Oh, sweet, I can just share screen too. I do need my RStudio. So I need my numbers here. So what I'm going to do here really quickly is I'm going to write down my numbers so I can easily access them. So I'll do that here. I have 20, 19, 17, 19, 10, and 15. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. And I'm going to make a sketch of my numbers. So if you ran your own code, I encourage you to make a sketch of your own numbers. Okay. So histogram, first thing, we got to set up our X and Y axes. Here's our X. I'm sorry, that was our Y. Here's our X. Might need to make that a little longer though, just in case. Okay, so I'm going to have my, so this was my 1, this was my 2, my 3, my 4, my 5, and my 6, right? So I'm going to have a 1 bar, a 2 bar, a 3 bar, a 4 bar, a 5 bar, and a 6 bar. It looks like the highest is 20, so we're going to say we're going to go up to 20 here, which means that this is our 10 mark, and then that'll be 15, and that'll be 5. So that's going to be our frequency, right? And then I just make my bars. So 1 was up to 20. So that's my bar for my number 1, or 20 number 1s. There were 19 2s that rolled, so just a little bit below there. Okay. There were 17 3s. So 17 3s, that's 15, 17, and my bars are getting kind of crooked, y'all. 19 4s. There we go. Only 10 5s, so that's going to be like halfway here. Oh, there we go. And 15 6s. Yep, that's about right. See? And I can shade these in just for fun. Burr, burr, burr. Okay. So it's easy enough to do for 100 rolls, right? But what if we did like 500 rolls or 1,000 rolls? Yes, Janelle. The plot is from 1 to 6, absolutely. And what we're going to learn next is we're going to learn the code, and we're going to learn exactly how to make a histogram 6 bars like this. Because a lot of times RStudio will choose the intervals for us, and we're like, why? Why would you choose decimals? Why? But a lot, and we can actually tell RStudio, like, look, there's 6 numbers, just give me 6 bars. Okay, so we're going to learn that code in just a quick second. So do me a favor, you guys, raise your hand at home when you're done making your histogram. When you're done drawing your histogram, give me a raised hand so I know we can move on to that code, okay? What about you guys?
Or you press cancel. Don't press try again.
What?
For RStudio.
Oh, is it doing? problems again? Oh no, she's getting an error message. Oh yeah, it's the quotations. Did you type this in? Okay. So let me get this color. It's the stupid keyboard on the Chromebook. Yes, I called it stupid.
What do you call that typo?
No, I can do this. I just need to find it. Where would keyboard be? Let's see. Yes, smart girl. Don't laugh at me. No, you do. It's just a different, you know. Yeah.
No.
Yes. So we want this guy. We don't want international. Okay. So now, when you type it in, it's gonna, the quotations are gonna look different. So when we do sample, right, you get sample one. And then when you see how these quotations are very different from those, right? That would be the issue. Nope, nope, not you. There you go. You're welcome. So do your tally, so you can make your, yeah. Yes, sir. Let's see. Yours, yours is the same issue as the quotations. Yeah, exactly. This one you copied?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so let's change the same thing for you. So we're gonna do settings. Is this your Chromebook or is it? Okay, good, so this will change. Or this will keep. Okay, so now when you type in, it should work. Yep, there you go. Is yours working?
I was gonna ask you, I was gonna put in my username and it wasn't getting
Username for what?
for the nominal 09 and then 53.
Well, you wait this long to tell me?
Oh, and it was for teaching. I don't like.
No. I understand that, but I want you to keep up. Hold on. You know your password though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Five 4 9 0 6.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. If you need the password, just let me know, okay? All right, ladies and gents. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Amani and Gabby. Thank you, Sarai. The rest of us, guys, why is it taking so long to draw a histogram? Come on. There we go. There we go. Did we forget to raise our hands? Lame. All right. Okay, well done. Well done, y'all. Well done. Okay. Oopsie. Okay, so next, you know, we don't want to draw this by hand every single dang time, right? That's a bit annoying. So what we would much rather do is we would much rather have our studio draw this by hand for us, right? Or not draw this by hand, but do it for us. So let's talk about the code we need to do this on our studio. Let me make this bigger for my kiddos in class here and for you guys at home. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna run our histogram code. But remember that our histogram code is normally like a variable and then data equals a data set. This time around, we don't have that. So it might give you a warning code, and that's okay. But one thing we're gonna be adding is in the argument, we're gonna be adding NINT. So what does that mean? That means number of intervals, right? NINT, number in INT interval, right? So we're gonna tell our studio exactly how many bars we wanna see. So by adding the NINT, and you can do this when you do any histogram really, by adding the NINT, you are telling our studio, yo, I want 6 bars. Don't give me your own intervals, give me 6 bars, okay? And considering the fact that we have 6 numbers, we're pretty much creating a bar per number. So I want you guys to go into your RStudio and put in this code here, histogram, sample 1, NINT equals 6. Ethan, and you're gonna have to do the other 3 codes, or at least the first 2 lines of the code.
Okay.
You don't have to do the tally proportion one.
Sample.
The sample one and then just the basic tally one
Okay.
before you can do this one,
Okay.
okay? So go into your RStudio and make a histogram from your data, okay? So we just do histogram, please work, please work. This is the one that was working, that was not working yesterday.
It gives a warning message.
It's okay if it gives a warning message.
Yeah, it just gave a warning message and then it shut off the graph.
Yours says error. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna come to you. Check for spelling. Sometimes I spell histogram wrong and I put histogram. Okay, so got a warning message, but I still got my histogram. Yesterday it was just straight up error.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Let's find you here. Okay, Patricio, ¿dónde estás? Aquí. I think it's your first name and your birthday.
Okay. Okay.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
All lower.
Okay.
Okay, so once you do this, you now have a histogram, right? And you can take this and you can screenshot it and do what you need to do with it or whatnot. But you can visually see just how much there was less of 5 than any other. But you can also see that there's not a single number that's being favored, right? We can see that there's a lot of 1s, there's a lot of 2s, there's a lot of 4s. We can even say that there's quite a bit of 3s, right? But there isn't a single number that's being favored. Okay? There isn't a single number that's being favored there. All right. Yeah? Okay. All right. So make sure you have this down. Okay? For the code. And then let's talk about our actually, I want to skip that part. Okay. Yeah, Matthew, go ahead. Okay. So now we're going into our bias detective, y'all. Okay. We're going to go into the activity of 2.9b. So what you're going to do is you are going to run these 3 codes for die A and die B. And you can actually use what we just did for sample 1 as die A. And you can screenshot and copy and paste these codes for die A. Then you're going to roll die B 100 times. Here is my caution to you guys, okay? Every time you do a new roll, name it something different. So change sample 1, do sample 2, do sample A, do sample B, do sample B1, B2, B3, because you're gonna be rolling the B die quite a few times. But you have to change the name. Because if you don't change it, then RStudio, if you keep it sample 1, RStudio is just gonna replace the data every single time. So what you had for sample 1 the first time, you're not gonna be able to use again. It's gonna delete it and then resave it with the new roll. Does that make sense? So name it different things. Give it different names. But remember that if you change it to like sample 2, then you have to tally sample 2. and you have to histogram sample 2. Does that make sense? Okay. So what you guys are going to do is you are going to roll the die multiple times, and you're going to screenshot and copy your code and stuff. And then you're going to determine which one of these die, A or B, is biased. Which one is fair, which one is biased, okay? Now, this was supposed to be an IDS journal. Yes, Ishmael, same codes, different names in the code. Absolutely, yes. Let me get to that in a second. Okay, so first things first, this was supposed to be like a journal thing, but I didn't think this was a journal thing. I thought this was more of like an exploratory activity. So what I want everyone to do, make sure you're listening. Okay, what I want everyone to do is I want you to go to your Unit 2, Section 2 journal. Okay, and then there's a part right here. Okay, it's pretty much the end of your lesson 9 part, where it says begin by rolling die B 100 times, essentially to the end of the lesson 9 journal. I want you to highlight that and delete it. Okay, so this entire section of the lesson 9 journal, I want you to highlight and delete. Okay, deleting is in your favor, because if you don't delete and you leave it in your journal and then you submit it and it's blank, my eyes are gonna look, oh, blank, take off points. So deleting it would essentially mean, now don't do this all the time, or unless I tell you to, because then I'll notice that your journal is just really, really short. Okay? I'm not that forgetful, y'all. All right, so delete this whole section. Those of you at home, to confirm that you've done this, please raise your hand. Okay, yeah, upload your sketch now. Absolutely, thank you, sweetie. Raise your hand once you've deleted this from your journal so that we can confirm that you've heard and done that. Okay. Good. Keep going. All right, I see hands. I see hands from Amani, Alexander, Gabby, Sarai, Janelle, Jade, Samai, Alexis, Vicky, Valerie, Dallas. I see hands from Maya, Tyrese, Trinity, Steph, Katie, Maddie, Evelyn, Ishmael. I see hands from Natalie, both Natalies, and Alex Reveles. I'm waiting for hands from Kenya, Matthew, and Will. Into, no, you're good. No, hold on. No, you don't need to sketch anything. Did you open the 2.9E activity? You get a copy of it? Okay. Yep. Okay. That.
Yeah, no spaces.
Okay, copy. So you're gonna copy code and screenshot. I'll tell you in a second. What happened? Yes. Yeah, make a copy of 2.9 US. Okay, so the reason why I had you guys delete this, okay, the reason why I had you guys delete this was because I've turned this into an actual activity, okay, and that is your 2.9B activity. So I want you guys to open up 2.9B, which you should already have made copied of, right? And what you guys are gonna do is, so everything that we just did in RStudio for the sample 1, you can copy your code and you can put in here. So we just rolled our die. So you're gonna, rolling the die and naming it, that is, or here it is. That is the code of the sample 1, roll underscore die A times 100, right? So that would be this code here. Give me a second. Okay, that would be this code right here. Oh, okay, and what you would screenshot is you would screenshot your environment pane, and show me that sample 1 actually showed up in your environment pane. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and then tally. So tally, you are giving me this code right here. So you're going to copy and paste the tally code, and you're going to screenshot the tally right here. Okay, and then your histogram, you're going to copy and paste your histogram code, and then you're going to where is my files? And then you're gonna screenshot the plot that pops up, the histogram. Okay. So what you guys are gonna do is so die A, we pretty much already did die A. You're gonna do a similar, same type of 3 codes for die B, code, output, screenshots. And then you're gonna answer this question of write down your noticings about die A and die B. Okay. And then there's a part 2 to this. So part 2 focuses only on die B. And you have to repeat rolling die B at least 4 more times and change the number of times that RStudio rolls the die. So the first time we did 100, so you can change this to 200, 250, 300. You can go less if you wanted to, right? So you're gonna change however many times you roll the die every single time. You're gonna roll the die, give it a name, right? You're going to tally it. You're going to do a histogram each time. And then at the end of this, you're going to answer the question, based on your above results, which die is biased, die A or die B? Okay. So if we had a biased die, what are we looking for? If we had a die that skewed to one number more than another, what would we see in our histograms? Okay, so we'd see a lot more of a certain number than all the other numbers, right? Consistently. We'd consistently be seeing that difference. So you're looking for that type of consistency to determine, is die A biased or is die B biased? Okay? So you guys are going to be given 20 minutes to work on this. So you're in RStudio, you're coding, you're screenshotting, you're copying and pasting. Okay? Very good, Janelle. Very, very good, guys. I'm sorry if you feel like I'm ignoring you at home. I'm doing my best. Okay. Very good. Okay, so you guys have 20 minutes to work on this. That's what you're working on for the next 20 minutes of class time. All right. I'm going to pause the recording here so that it's not